You find us in the winner's circle at Meydan Racecourse ahead of Emirates Super Saturday. We've got 9 to preview for you, and it's competitive in some areas, and there look to be some good things in others. So hopefully between Nick Lightfoot, Megan Nichols and I, and your racecourse commentator Pat Comerford, we should find you some winners this evening, we hope. Nick, surely.
I was 0 from 8 last week.
Okay, that's good.
But at least there's another opportunity being the 9th race.
The caveat to that is the meetings away from the 4 big uns are tough.
Yeah.
But we only get we get the big guns out for the big uns. So Megan's here. How are you?
Yeah, delighted to be back, Tom. Yes, obviously a 9-race card and a couple of short prices and smaller fields throughout the evening. But I'm looking forward to seeing a couple of horses returning on the back of a break and sort of stepping stone now towards the World Cup for a few of them, I suppose.
Absolutely. Pat Comerford has taken you through all the details so far, the non-runners and the jockey changes, which we have a few. We'll get stuck straight into the preview. And as I say, hopefully pick out a few horses that are going to go and win for you this evening. Race number 1 is Al Maktoum Challenge. It's round 3, sponsored by Arabian Adventures for purebred Arabians. And one of the horses who we will come to is Unleashed. He's going to be on page 2 here, who is surely going to take a bit of beating based upon his performance last time. There's your first 8 lining up. And there's your final 3 with Salb Tariq and Unleashed. So, Nick, let's start with Unleashed. Beat Canalia de Faust, beat Jafar Raja and a few others last time. We know how he's going to try and go about it. Drawn to Richard Mullen from the front. Simples.
It should be, really, shouldn't it? Based on this performance, and I know we talked about it prior to this race. I don't think anybody was underestimating Unleashed. I thought it actually had probably more depth than today's race, but he lowered the track record. Speaking to Richie Mullen later in the day, do you think another 100 metres would be stopping him? Just look at this evidence. I would say no. And they're going to have, obviously, today, but with an eye on 5 weeks' time as well in the Kahela Classic. I think he's a superb horse. Can anything reverse? No, he'd have to underperform massively.
Yeah, I think when it comes to the Kahela, it's going to be different when you get some of those Saudi horses over, the likes of Tilal Al Khaladia, for example, who won the Abaya Classic in Saudi. But this is his night. I think this is his for the taking, Megan.
Yeah, I think so. Obviously a bit further, and he's yet to win over this distance, but Richie Mullen will probably just hold on to him that little bit longer and be obviously very much aware of that. But he was eased down in the closing stages last time. Richie was very complimentary of him, and as you say, has suggested that the step up in distance won't be an issue. So he looks very hard to beat. He's got a nice draw, and I imagine it will be kept very simple.
Are we all with Unleashed?
2 track records. He's beat his own one, didn't he? I think you're just trying to be clever if you go against him. But based on, as I said, a complete blank last week, I want to get off the mark straight away.
Yeah, you're the same?
I'm the same.
Yeah. Why be clever when you can be really boring?
Yep.
So there we are. Right. All 3 with Unleashed. Hopefully gets us off to a flyer. Race number 2 is one of 2 turf guineas tonight. Jumeirah 1,000 guineas, sponsored by Emirates Skywards. And this is your field. I reckon
this gets more competitive.
We might agree with one here. I don't know. Mountain Breeze is obviously the filly in focus, daughter of Lope de Vega, 3-year-old. William Buick takes the ride for Charlie Appy in the Godolphin Blue. This is Mountain Breeze winning the Morge Stakes, sponsored by Emar last time. This was back at the end of January, the week after Fashion Friday, and again, Megan, she was a warm order for this. This is the trial for this contest, stepping up a couple of 100 metres. You wouldn't expect to be a problem.
No, not at all. This was obviously the 1400, where she travelled very sweetly and very much within her comfort zone. You can see she's got that real fast ground action, a flicky action, a good moving filly, quickened up well, and it was just all very smooth. William Buick kept it simple, tracked the leaders, and she was just too good for the rest of them, and stepping up in trip once again isn't an issue for me. She was a very solid 2-year-old performer back at home as well, with some solid group placing efforts, and I think that it's another opportunity for her to get her head back in front.
Everything. The form in Europe entitled her to do what she did last time. I think they're going to look to win this, which she should do, assuming nothing disastrous happens, and then look at a Guineas trial in Europe somewhere, because they've got some pretty strong 3-year-old fillies. Look, it was Cinderella's dream last year, I think 20 to 1 on the international markets, and I know that disaster almost happened that day, but again, if you see anything other than this being the script, you're just hoping for something different to happen.
Yeah, she didn't need a saddle last year.
No.
I suppose Charlie Epps had a couple of fillies disappoint this year.
Romantic Style and
so. But I mean, I'm clutching at straws.
Yeah.
But I don't think she'll be.
the Spanish filly in second. She could run all right, and another couple of 100 metres. That shouldn't be a problem for her. But again, look at Mountain Breeze and think she's miles clear. There's no change in the circumstances from last time. They race off the same levels. So, again, we haven't got anything swinging it in the direction of the others.
All right, let's get a bit more competitive then. Race
Shall
number
we?
3. Yes, this is the Burj Nahar over the mile. It's produced horses that have lined up in the Godolphin Mile. It's also produced horses that have lined up and won Dubai World Cup. So we'll see what happens off the back of this. This is your first 8, and that takes you through to 16. Not none of there. You've got is a Salem for Michael Costa. Okay, let's start with Cagliostro finishing 3rd, Meydan Dubai 6 Sound Money finishing 9th. This is the fire break, one of the sort of key steps onto this. This is back on the 24th of Jan, which was Fashion Friday. Well, we know what happened up top with Laura River, Nick. This was was it a strange race for you, or was it pretty obvious what happened here?
So it was a strange. Look, I think he just went way too hard, didn't he? And in the end, it allowed closers. The most notable of them, the 66-1 shot King Gold, who we'll be talking about a little bit later. But I think if you look at Cagliostro's run in isolation, I think he's run a very, very good race, and I think it brings him into just about being the leading form claim for me. I think Megan's with me.
Yeah, I am. Yeah. I just thought as well it was his, first run for this yard, and they'll have learnt a bit more about him. James Doyle will know a bit more about him as well. And from a rider's perspective, when one goes off as fast as Laura River, who again was very short odds, you don't necessarily, or wouldn't have necessarily expected him to tire like he did. But from a rider's perspective, when you're in the group, it's quite hard to judge. When do we try and close? When do we let this leader off or not? Because you can give them too much rope. Now, luckily, in those circumstances, Laura River did tire. We haven't necessarily got the same pace as we did that time around. So I think it will allow James Doyle to get Cagliostro into a nice position and probably travel that bit better this time around. And we know he'll finish well. So I think James will be able to dictate a bit more.
Okay, do you want to have a look at Walker Stars winning a race, Nick?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that would be it would be strange if we didn't see him.
He's all right from Saudi, isn't he? I think he had a bit of a maybe he ran all right to a point
bad
last
after.
week.
Yeah, he scoped bad. And Bupat said it's not the first time they sent horses out there that they've done that. This is really all. It's not about Walker Stars. This is about Local Dynasty finishing 5th. Can he go a little bit better here?
Yeah, I think so. I think he's been keeping really good company, and this is a bit of a springboard season for him. I'm not going to compare him to Algiers, but the same sort of connections are going to know exactly what they've got. Drawing 12 should be absolutely fine for his racing style. I think he can run all right.
I fancy Castle Warden will go pretty well with the blinkers on. Obviously, full brother to Laurel River. That horse wore blinkers. I think he needed it last time. I think he blew up a touch, and I think he wants a mile, and he'll be. Yeah. I think there's a chance, he might just burn them off. I think that's what they'll try and do anyway.
Could he be too keen in blinkers? I know he was fresh probably last time, but could he be too keen in the blinkers?
If they try and restrain him, yes. But I don't think they'll try and
let him roll.
I think that's the best chance. Tiger Shea is sat on a full brother to Laurel River in blinkers at a 10. What's he going to do other than go? So that's my angle into it.
Yeah, that's fair.
You've got to come and see him in the paddock. He is an oil
monster,
painting.
right? Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah. He said the same about you.
Horse. Really?
Yeah, it's nice of him. He's gorgeous, isn't he? But also on that, Meg, he's going to have needed the run last time, right? Because he's a big lad.
He's a big burly horse. He carries a bit of weight. But I don't know, up in trip, he was very keen last time. And I know they did try and get him to settle and restrain him slightly, but he was too free for me. Up in trip with the headgear on as well. Could be a sort of lethal combination.
All right, let's move on to race number 4. We'll confirm the selections from all the guys at the end of this. Race number 4 is the Nad El Sheba Turf Sprint over 1,000 metres, surely made for Westacre. The point being that, that horse will probably line up, or whoever takes this will line up on World Cup night, but that's over 6. But there's a few sort of confirmed 1,000-metre performers in here. We'll come to Westacre very shortly. That's your second page as well. So it's a nice big field. There is Westacre, who is number 15 on there. He's the 3-year-old, or one of them. That's where we're going to start. He proved himself, Megan, last time against older horses. Pontos finishing second, cover up back in third. Track record performance. I mean, this was just a lovely, calm ride as well. And we've seen it a few times on the straight course this year. A nice hold-up ride suiting. That's not always been the case.
Yeah, he's got a lethal turn of foot, and this was a very good performance. I think a fast run 5 furlongs is his absolute optimum, and you can't see any reason on the back of that why the others might be able to close the gap. He'll be ridden the same way with a bit of restraint. He's got Pontos in 9 drawn next to him, who goes forward and will set a strong pace. I actually bumped into George Scott this morning, and he said, the horse is very well. Everyone's delighted with him. Effectively, it's his race to lose, if you like, because he's proven he's good enough to beat these older horses. He gets the same pace angle. He gets a nice draw, providing he's in the same form.
Yeah.
I just can't see him getting beat.
I just want to come to you on Pontos, Nick. Now, Pontos is drawn 14, Frosted Drawn is drawn 2. We can have a look at Pontos in the Jeblani sprint finishing second. But if you frame this, what we're looking at around pace in the race, Nick, so you've got Pontos one side, you've got Frosted Dawn the other. We know what she's going to likely do as well, and try and blitz up the far rail as she did at this track last year. And we know what Pontos is going to do. Well,
that's the nice thing about having him in the race, because when you're going to do your pace map, it's the easiest one you can possibly do, isn't it? Given the fact that Pontos is there, and as you say, Frosted Dawn. I guess the question, does he look like reversing the form of Westacre? I think absolutely not. If there was some 800-metre group races around here, I think he'd mop them up because of how fast he is. But it's just those final stages, and he actually ran all right, shows versatility up the hill. Over at Jebel Ali on the dirt, I think he'll run all right. I don't think he's going to reverse the form of Westacre. I'd rather look elsewhere for the danger.
What about the filly that I mentioned?
Frosted Dawn. Yeah. I'm going with her.
Okay.
She had her own track record last year in this very race. She's got a similar draw scenario. It's a different way in because they're bringing her fresh from the Breeders' Cup. Trainer thinks that that's going to be absolutely fine, but I think this is with an idea of launching into the back end of the season, the Alcoz, and then thinking about Europe with her as well. Last year they brought over a dirt filly. They thought she'd be a UAE Guineas filly. She was a bit of a revelation, and she's a complete ball of speed, and she's got that rail to run up against, and she's in the same sort of form, which she could be fresh. I'll take a chance on her.
Final thoughts on the race, Megan?
I can't see Westacre getting beat. I also think this year we've very much seen that sort of centre of the sprint track has probably been the place to go, and that far side rail where Frosted Dawn is drawn isn't necessarily an advantage this time around.
It definitely was last year for her. She set the track record and she was on a good part of it.
Exactly, and this year it seems as if the sort of track bias has slightly changed. So I just think Westacre's got it all set up nicely for him.
All right, race number 5 is the Singspiel Stakes. This is over 1,800, same trip as the Dubai Turf. It's the key trial for that contest. This is sponsored by Emirates Airline. Dalalia is non here, so that's your first 8 or 7 really. Number 8 is Sean. We'll be having a look at him very shortly. And we finish up with Stormy Ocean. All right. First conquest then, beating Cairo. This is first conquest. Megan's been a bit of a revelation this year. Of course, when he won first up, he wasn't necessarily the fancied one in the race. William Buick has subsequently got on board him, and the horse has won again. I guess the interesting thing here is you've now got Nation's Pride in the race, who William Buick chooses to ride, and Mikhail Barcelona is back on first conquest. Yeah,
plenty of sort of chat about jockey bookings over this race. First conquest looks an improved horse for sure. He's been showing a good turn of foot, especially here. He was obviously held up towards the rear, and once he was pulled out to the middle of the track, he quickened up extremely well. 2 from 2 over in Dubai. Now he does step up in grade again. I do think he has to probably improve a little bit more once again in terms of the level of form he's got in comparison to one or two others, but he is certainly an improving horse and he's in good form.
Must be as hard a decision as William had on the night, and there are some tricky ones a little bit later. I'd say this is quite high up there because he's got, I'm not going to say limitless potential, but since the application of the hood, he's 3 from 3. He's looked dynamite here. I don't think things, as we saw that VT there, played out particularly brilliantly, and I think he still won. And there are, with Nation's Pride, the back form is absolutely not in question. But maybe the last twice, I know that last time was a bit of a throw-out, but maybe the last twice is suggestive of the fact that he might not be quite as good as he was. That's a question in itself.
Yeah.
He's never acted in Bahrain.
No.
But then what happened last time was a bit of a throw-out as well. So
I'd
there's
rather
one or two questions.
I'd rather side with the upwardly mobile First Conquest
Yep.
and sort of put jockey bookings to one side, because Will Buick is. It's going to be hard to not ride a horse that's rated £6 superior, and given the races that Nation's Pride has contested. But as a more likely winner of this race, for me, First Conquest. I guess the only, Mikar Barcelona, and he on the turf track here on a hold-up horse,
Different
I think
class,
he's exceptional. But one you probably wouldn't pick, stall one, because he's going to have to work his way wide. That's the only negative for me. Let's have a look at Sean finishing second. This is in the Lord Glitters handicap. I mean, he beat Stormy Ocean, or ahead of Stormy Ocean and Garland here, and just behind a very good Godolphin horse. But Nick, he doesn't do a bad race, this horse.
Not really. He's a pretty reliable horse. That is his great namesake. He's obviously got form in this race as well. Finished third in it last year. I think there are a couple of better horses in the race, but based on the way that he's going at the moment, I think he's firing on the best cylinders he's had. Form-wise, it would suggest so as well. So I can see him running well. He'd be in the money for me.
Who's going to win, Megan?
I've gone Holloway Boy here.
Wow.
Yeah, possibly a little bit rogue.
Well, sorry, it's not. I just didn't expect. I guess when you got two Godolphin Blue in there, I'm playing it safe. But
yeah,
I can. Yeah, he went very close a couple of starts ago. 10 lengths behind Romantic Warrior last time. It's probably not far off.
Very good form, this horse. He's taken to Dubai very well. He wasn't disgraced behind Romantic Warrior at all. We've seen obviously what Romantic Warrior came out to do in Saudi after as well, and I just think he's so consistent. The track has clearly suited him.
Yep.
He's been right up there, narrow defeat, obviously the start before, and obviously a bit further behind next time, but it was in a grade which is way above this. I mean, Romantic Warrior, if we were talking about him running here, I mean, we would not even be looking elsewhere. So if he can repeat that effort, then I think Holloway Boy has a massive chance.
Well, 2 points. I wanted to look at one of the Godolphin horses, but based on you've touched it, the jockey bookings. I think the last two runnings of this have gone to Charlie Appleby, but the apparent second or even third string, William Buick's gone for another, and it's not played out. So actually, history would tell you, recent history, you might lean towards First Conquest. I'm completely with Megan. I've got Holloway Boy to win this as well. Do I get a wow?
No, you a bunch of clever clogs.
After last week,
what did you say? First race. First race. Let's not try and be clever.
Yeah, I know. It's dreadful, isn't it? I think I lose interest by midway point of the card and try and just jazz it up a bit in my own mind.
Yeah.
But look, Holloway Boy, the case, and it's really sad, by the way, that we don't have Poker Face, because he would have been in this race, and he so sadly, he lost his life in a horrible injury. So commiseration to the connection of that horse. And he's been bang there with Holloway Boy all the way through this. Holloway Boy actually had to wait for his run a bit in the Jebel Hatter, didn't he? So he could have been even slightly close to Romantic Warrior. He wouldn't have beaten him, of course, but he is right at the peak of his powers, as good as he has ever been. And I think this track and trip will be perfect for him. I think he could beat the Godolphin horses.
Okay.
I'm just clickbaiting.
I like it. That's what we want. Otherwise, it'd just be boring like me. Yeah, interesting. Right. I'm looking forward to that race more than I was. This is what we want. Race number 6 then. This is the Al Maktoum Classic, sponsored by Emirates Airline. I guess the key thing here is... well, the obvious question is, can Kabir Khan come back to his best? And we'll come to that. There are other questions as well. Will Imperial Empress see it out? Will he stay? He looks as though he's a horse that's going to line up on World Cup night in the earlier race in the Godolphin Mile, given what else the stable have for the World Cup. But look, if he goes and absolutely bolts up here, then maybe that'll be different. This is Imperial Emperor finishing second to... Walk of Stars, tell you what, Walk of Stars isn't even here, for goodness sake. Karib fourth, generous tipper, Kabir Khan global hit. Megan, start with Kabir Khan. He wasn't seen to best effect, but I think there were a couple of things at play. He didn't have his regular rider on board here, no disrespect to Christian Jamura who rode him, but maybe he's a horse that takes a bit of knowing, and he didn't seem to love the kickback either.
Possibly not. He was a bit keen, a bit fresh. I actually saw him in the paddock beforehand, sort of thought he would take a step forward from a return run. So it'd be interesting to see how much fitter he looks this time around and how much he might have improved for the start back. Imperial Emperor, this was a really big effort. I think a little step up in trips shouldn't be an issue. It wasn't like he was weakening. He just wasn't quite good enough to beat his stablemate Walker Stars. We've now got Tygo Shea on board. He travels well. He tends to jump well and nicely into stride.
Draw?
15, he has got to overcome it. But I think if he can break on terms, he's got a master on board. if he can get a handy enough position, I think he's the one to beat. Because I think he's in form, he's fit, he's got plenty of runs behind him, and he's still, for me, improving. Kabir Khan, yes, he looked the classiest one. He was favourite for last year's World Cup. But he's going to have to take a big step forward fitness-wise. Big step forward on what we saw on his return.
I'm going to go Kabir Khan. I have backed him. Went off a really strong favourite in the World Cup. But I had to do a bit of a check again, 15-8. He was really well backed. We are over a year since that performance of real style and swagger, which propelled him to favouritism for the Dubai World Cup, and he's got to answer the poor run that day when I think he chased the pace, which didn't go right for him in the World Cup itself. Last time, as you said, Tom, he took too much kickback. He didn't like it. I think they're going to ride him slightly differently today based on what Doug Watson said. First run in 10 months, and last time I think they probably felt he was further along than he actually was. So I still think he has enough of a buy to be able to give him a second chance. And the way I've looked at this race is how many of these could actually sort of be worthy of a place in the Dubai World Cup itself. There's probably only 2 in my mind.
Not King Gold, who beat Laurel River last time. We can have a look at King
He's
Gold.
lovely. I feel bad, but no.
My concern for King Gold is the step up in trip, because he's quite a pacey horse. And Audrey, who rode him this day, he's obviously not riding tonight, so we've got a jockey change there with William Buick up on board. But the whole thing was, he had to get this horse to settle. He did face the kickback, that wasn't an issue. But he's a horse who's got speed. And yes, there was the pace collapse. But if we take Laurel River out, the way he was ridden and the way he quickened up the straight, it was impressive, but it concerns me that he's got the extra couple of furlongs. I think this horse has got too much speed for the 10.
He's amazing though, isn't he? Group 1 sprinter in Europe. Hadn't shown much at all on the dirt prior to that, and then suddenly at the age of 8 puts in an incredible performance. And now we're talking about reinventing, you know, they say, what are they? Don't teach an old dog new tricks. Well, you're kind of going into new territory. 2,000 metres.
Yeah,
different beast.
I don't actually think he's going to be a serious threat in a Dubai.
No, but you still made me feel bad, which is good.
That's what I was trying to do. It was a bit of a meltdown race last time. It was a great result, but not an easily predictable one, and not an obvious one to follow up, I think. I guess what I'm hoping is that turning into the straight, Imperial Emperor is likely in the lead, I think, because that's what they're going to have to do. And Kabir Khan is just tracking him, having come out of 9, let him cross, and you get a real set 2 between the best 2 horses in the race.
Who wins?
I think Kabir Khan is the play, because we know how good he is, and I have a slight doubt about Imperial Emperor actually wanting, I'm not saying he won't stay, but wanting an extra 100 metres from last time. Right, let's move on to race number 7. This is Dubai City of Gold, sponsored by Emirates Airline, 2,410 metres. For this, Godolphin Blue centre stage. Let's get stuck straight into them. Right, Silver Knot and Arabian Crown, first of all. Not forgetting Passion and Glory. But Silver Knot and Arabian Crown are the 2 from Charlie Appy who are most obvious. William Buick on board Silver Knot. We can have a look at the Joe Hirsch Turf Classic Stakes. This is the Grade 1 at Belmont, with the horse finishing 3rd. Nicky's obviously a fairly good, consistent traveller. He's rated 116, which is £4 superior to Arabian Crown, but he has got to give the horse a kilo, given that horse is a 4-year-old. Silver Knot for you?
No.
Okay, well, okay. Touch on him though here.
If you say it's black,
it's white
in my mind, isn't it? That's just. I think Charlie Appleby said about this horse, he doesn't run bad races. 2,400 metres is what he wants. He's a proper pioneering, globe-trotting type, based on North America anyway. I just find the profile of the seeming second string that much sexier.
Okay. Why is William Buick riding Silver Knot then?
Because Arabian Crown won't be fit.
Okay.
For me.
Because he's using this as a trial for the Shima Classic?
Yeah, and also, you know, he's a horse that, yes, he was very well fancied for the Derby. He had a setback. He's clearly very talented, but having had a setback on all this time off the track, you're not going to have him 100% revved up for today. They'll have had to ease him back in, and he's obviously ready for his run, but I very much think that there's bigger targets further down the line. He's a kind of typical Dubawi in that he's quite stocky, he's compact, he holds a big middle, and I think he'll need a run to be 95% or plus.
And I suppose as we look at him in the classic trial at Sandown Park over 2,000, I suppose there are some question marks about the distance. I mean, on pedigree, he should be absolutely fine. He's just not tried it before. The other thing, jockey bookings wise, Nick, which I think is worth touching on, is if Rebels Romance is back here, William Buick's going to ride that horse, so James Dorr could be back on Arabian Crown. So maybe that's the way they're looking at it as well.
Yeah, quite possibly. He's I had to take stock of where we were. He was 7-2 second favourite for the Derby. Not that that means a huge amount necessarily, but he was a big profile 3-year-old when he was so sadly taken out of action last May, I think it was, soon after winning this. I'd completely take Megan's point. If you've got a horse who hasn't had that much racing, 4 from 5, and is stocky, burly, probably going to need the run. I'm just slightly drawn in by this completely unexposed profile. And if today brings him on, absolutely fine. But I'd like to think he could be competitive.
Arabian Crown, Silver Knot.
Silver Knot, he goes well fresh as well, and I just think he's the ready horse for today.
Agree with you. Right. We'll confirm those for you at the end. Race number 8 is the Mahab Al Shamal. It's over 1,200 metres on the dirt. And again, we might well see a Dubai World Cup night winner here if Tuz does what he did on World Cup night last year. And he's taken in every one of the 6 furlong dirt races, top level ones really this year. He's been absolutely relentless and unstoppable so far, which, Nick, hasn't always been the Tuz profile.
No.
But, it has been... it has been so far this season. I don't really know what's changed. I just think he's become a bit more streetwise and a bit more sensible, a bit easier. Let's have a look at him in the Al Shindaga.
I think the way that the programme's worked this season as well, they can get a load of racing into him. And the fact that we've got 5 weeks now between opens up Super Saturday to the World Cup again. And they are looking for history to win all of the sprints, which I gather has never been done before. He maybe is more tractable now. This was the moment where Colour Up, who continually gets closer and closer but without actually getting the verdict over Tuz, there was a slight worry, but maybe he's an older boy now and he only does as much as he needs to do. He's just toyed with his opposition. He is the best about here, but there are questions now to answer from further afield, I suppose.
Yeah, I love this horse. He's got so much character. You can actually see when he turns into the straight, Tig bumps off of the running rail in order to be able to get him to switch onto that outside lead, because he's a bit of a stubborn character, and Tig said he doesn't always switch leads for you. Had his ears pricked. Once Colour Up sort of got to his quarters, he ran on, he was strong to the line. I just think he's pretty wise and he only does what he has to do. But as Nick's saying, American Stage is an interesting horse. For Japan, he is a 3-year-old, so obviously gets that weight allowance. Drawn widest out in stall 12, but he looks like he could be smart, and I suppose it's hard to know how strong his level of form actually is.
Yeah, and I think you have to. It might be lazy in certain ways to do it, just to go, the trainer's record. But the trainer, I know you were interviewing in Saudi Arabia last week, Tom, the fact that he has this unexposed runner here, and considering his dominance in the Middle East, but also talking about what he's done on World Cup nights in the years gone by, the very fact that this horse is here is fascinating.
Yeah, I can imagine when Bhupat Simar confirmed the horse for this race and then it all came out. There was a little bit of...
Oh, what are you doing here?
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's
really?
not World Cup night yet. This is going to be my day.
Yeah, and obviously 2 big rides on the night on Japanese horses, Tia St. Dennis and an American Stage for Oisin Murphy.
Hule Las Kawaga. Different day, different pronunciation.
Yes.
He told me today, when I bumped into him at the supermarket, there you go, Drew's Gold is going to win this. Absolutely.
Yeah, go on.
Finest produce. He said Drew's Gold's going to win this.
Did he?
He said he was very confident.
Okay.
Okay.
Can't see it
Well, did he
myself.
say anything else?
I think he was busy sort of scanning his product.
Okay.
Had the most healthy lunch though, green juice the lot. So
You can't see it, like, so he's got 10 lengths to make up with
Yeah.
Tuz.
But I think there's the element of that was a fact finder, and the facts have been found, and he's going to win.
You've done it again.
I'm not going
No.
with him.
I'm more excited about the race because of that supermarket conversation than I was before
Good.
the start of it. Who do you like in the race, Nick?
Drew, Tuz.
Tuz?
Same.
Yeah, I think so. I think.
Until proven otherwise, I
Yeah,
suppose.
I'm really looking forward to the Japanese runner, but I think Tuz is the safer play. Right, race number 9 we come to then, and this is the Jumeirah 2,000 guineas. The boys lining up here, sponsored by Emirates Holidays, 1,600 metres. We've got a couple of pages here. We've got a good one lining up in the form of Ruling Court, who is number 6, based upon his 2-year-old form last year. We've also got Warsox and Whitegate in there. Warsox for Nils Peterson, who's had a couple of big wins so far this season. good luck to him. Right, ruling court in the Acomb Stakes. Meydan, this is a whopping bit of form to bring out to Meydan, and this is surely a horse who's going to have a Guineas on his agenda this season, Son of Justify, but he's taking this in.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Irish Guineas and then a Derby personally. But the Acomb worked out as probably one of the hottest 2-year-old races of last season. For me, I thought quick ground on a sharp 7 furlongs at York wasn't necessarily going to suit, having won his debut at Sandown. And he's still a horse that's very much on the up and learning for me. As a physical, I'm so looking forward to seeing him. He was €2.3 million from the Arcana Breeze up sale with a massive reputation, a Son of Justify. And I saw him at Sandown and I was not disappointed, but I just thought, this horse is not a 2-year-old. Anything he does, like last season, was going to be a bonus. Tall, lengthy, leggy, and he had so much filling out and strengthening up to do. So the fact that he did that at Sandown and then ran so well in the Acomb, he's got a massive engine.
And just on that, we've put to bed any concerns about Justifies at 3, right? That's it. Any concerns, because they were them last year, but we can put that in the bin.
That's
now, right? Harsh,
right?
We can forget that.
On
now.
Justifies top-rated 3-year-old last year, I think we can probably just about forgive him.
Absolutely. But it was a thing that was levelled at the horse last year, consistently, with regard to City of Troy, Nick.
But I think possibly
He turned out all right.
He turned out sort of above average, didn't he? But City of Troy, the whole thing about him being a small horse, will he train on, disappointment in the Guineas, etc. This horse is nothing like City of Troy. He's huge, big, rangy, long. He's going to be 3, if not 4-year-old before he's at his very best.
Nick?
Yes.
Touch on ruling court and then move it on.
Meydan said it all about the York race. That form is out of the highest order, being behind Lion Winter, Wimbledon Hawkeye, etc. Charlie Appleby saying they're going to use this to maybe find out whether they're going to go Guineas or Derby route. I've just got half an idea. I think Meydan's saying about an Irish Guineas. It wouldn't surprise me if he ended up in maybe a Dante, personally, somewhere in between. And it's an important week as well, because it shouldn't be forgotten that back home, they won a very, very significant 3-year-old race as it is now, that Opera Ballo earlier in the week. So we're into March. They're starting to shuffle the pack a bit.
Halassan, it also lines up for Charlie Appleby. James Doyle gets the ride. Now, he was seen 29 days ago when winning here. This was his 3rd start out here so far this season. Meydan beats the Fingal Raven and Nadawi. I made a point earlier on that, I've gone for the now Godolphin horse over the what could be, but at this point I can't see. I think the what could be about ruling court should be too strong for Halassan.
Yeah, I totally agree. This was obviously the trial, and ultimately a nice enough performance. As you say, he's beaten the Fingal Raven and Nadawi here. It was straightforward. He showed a good attitude and was tough, but it's not the same level of form as we've seen from the Acomb in ruling court. And he absolutely has to line up, of course, on the back of winning the trial. But I just think that he's probably at a level. And listed level, I think, is going to be his sort of grade, if not Group 3. Where I think ruling court is running in a preparation to then be performing up at the very highest level.
Final thoughts?
Look, there's a bit of a boost. Halassan beat Al Qudra. That was a bit of a shock, but Al Qudra's got on to win in Qatar, so there's a bit of a boost. But I think there'd be some longish faces in the Godolphin camp if Halassan beats the stablemate. I'm sure they'd be delighted to win the race, but I think it would be unlikely if it's not to be ruling court anyway.
Picks.
Yeah.
Meydan. What you got? 9. You can take it away. You can.
Yeah.
If you can't remember them all, they're up there for you.
No pressure. So we got Unleashed in the first. A couple of favourites to go with. Mountain Breeze in the second for a good night for Godolphin. Cagliostro to give Wathnan a winner. Westacre to back up his recent victory. Holloway Boy, he deserves his day in the sun. Imperial Emperor to handle the step up in trip. Silver Knot. Tuz, an absolute legend, of course, couldn't go without him, and finally ruling court to finish the night.
Okay, mine. I just saw one of the cameramen taking part. I mean, you're going to follow these in, good luck. Right, I'm going for 6 that Meydan's put up as well. Unleash, Mountain Breeze, the cases are obvious. Cagliostro I really like. Frost at Dawn, just because we're in a bit of a tipping league and I think so many people are going to go Westacre, I'm just going to roll the dice and try and find something different. Holloway Boy, Kabir Khan to prove that he is still top draw dirt animal, Arabian Crown, Tuz and ruling court. There should be a winner or two among them.
Plenty of similarities for mine. Unleashed, I agree with. Mountain Breeze, obviously. Castle Warden in the blinkers. West Acre, First Conquest, Kabir Khan, maybe Hope more than expectation. Silver Knot, Tuz and Ruling Court. There we are.
There we are.
Super Saturday then. It's Emirates Super Saturday, a night which has produced Dubai World Cup night winners in the past. Maybe we weren't sat here, you know, thinking this last year that we were going to see one in Laurel River going on and winning a Dubai World Cup.
Yeah.
But I think we've come to expect that year on year, that we, you know, one or two is very much feasible. And you've got 5 weeks now as well to get over it.
Yeah, 5 weeks, 6 are winning your ins, and this is exactly what a dress rehearsal should be. I love the fact that the Jebel Hatta got pushed back to give January a real feature, and I don't think it actually really loses much from the day, really, does it? It's still got strength in every single division.
Yeah, I think that planning has worked out really well, moving the Jebel Hatta back. Because you got Romantic Warrior there,
Yeah.
You wouldn't have got him here if that was on the night. We look forward to seeing him back. Which race are you most looking forward to? Which horse are you most looking forward to, Megan?
I think horse, probably seeing Ruling Court back in action, because I think he could be absolutely top class. The race I think I'm most fascinated by is probably the dirt sprint with Tuz, Japanese Raider over. I think that's so good. You know, throughout the season, we've had so many international runners coming in for the big meetings, and so I think that's really interesting. We've got a good spread of horses from across the world, and yeah, I'm sticking with Tuz as a favourite, but I think that's probably the race I'm most fascinated by.
Well, there we are. We're excited. You can't really not be ahead of Emirates Super Saturday, but that excitement pales in comparison to one person in particular, the pumped-up Angus McNay. No doubt you'll be seeing lots of him on the screen throughout racing, bringing you all the analysis and really getting stuck into how and why races were won or lost. Our captain tonight, Angus McNay, is alongside his first mate, Rishi Prasad.